Alright, so here's my drum carder. So I have the Doffer brush on it to help push the fibers into the drum. And it does make it quite noisy while I'm carding, but it's a nice addition. And I've got my handle over here and have my tools ready to go. I have a couple different brushes. This one's just a little bit smaller and gets down into the teeth all the way. A little bit longer tines on it. And then this is, I can never think of what this thing's called, but it helps pull my bats off at the end. So I'm going to keep these over here. And then I have my fibers right over on this side. So we can start blending. I'm going to try not to use my brush here because it does make it awfully loud. But we're going to start with the coppery color. And I tend to feed in a little bit at a time. I'm more of a blender than a painter for the most part, unless I have a really slippery fiber. So I tend to feed most of my wool right through the carder. Other people, when I say the word paint, you can paint the fibers onto your drum as well. And that is by doing this. And they say paint is because you're kind of like using a paintbrush and putting the fiber exactly where you want it. Whereas if you put it through the drums, the fiber goes where the drums want it to. And you can't control it as much. So I'm just going to start with the base of this nice bronzy copper color. And then we'll add some of this greens and yellows. And I just like to feed in a little bit at a time, getting it nice and blended. So I'm going to do a layer of these greens and the yellow. Okay, now I'm going to go back to using a little bit of the other color. And I'm going to pack it down. So I use this brush to pack it in. And then we'll go back to the yellows and greens. And when the drum starts to get full, I have to pack it down more and more often to keep it on the drum. And this is where my brush comes in handy as well. It keeps those fibers in there. And I have a little bit of my copper bronze color left, so I'm going to blend that on. I'm trying to keep it this color I'm putting on right now. I'm trying to put it right on the edge to fill up the edge of the garter. Ooh, there's a little bit of blue in there. That fiber doesn't belong. I'm going to put some on this side. Carol will post a lot of videos on carding videos on my Instagram and TikTok of the carding just like this, and it is very mesmerizing to watch sometimes. Alright, we're just adding in the last few colors here. And at the end here, I kind of just pick and choose where I need more fiber on the drum, where I'm putting it. And here's the last little bit of color. So our first blend is finished. So I'm going to now pull it off the drum. And I just do a little bit at a time. If you try to do too much, it's really hard to pull up. So I try to save my arms. And when I pull the bats off, I try to pull, I don't pull most of the fiber this way, because The stuff on this side has to go back in between on the liquor drum and the main drum. And if there's too much fiber, sometimes it'll get caught. Okay, now we're going to rotate the drum backwards, and I fold the bat up and roll it on itself. It helps pull the fibers off a little bit better, even though these ones don't want to all come up today. I just keep rolling until we're at the end. So this is where we're at with blend number 1. And now I'm going to send this through the drum carder again. It's not as smooth as I'd like. Now, when you do this, you can keep the colors together or let them blend in a little bit more. So I did mine in layers. So I'm going to pull apart some of my layers here. It won't be exact, but the colors will be a little bit brighter in the end. The first layer I did was mostly the copper on the bottom. So that's comes right off. It has some of the other colors blended in it, but not as much. It's gonna make it upside down. Here, let me do this. Okay. So then I have some of the greens on the bottom for the next layer. So I'm just pulling those apart. The layers do come apart pretty well. So this is all greens. I'm gonna set that aside. And then the rest of these layers are kind of a combination between the two. So after I pulled apart these layers, I'm going to pull them into individual strips as if I was going to spin them, but instead I'm going to send them back through the carder again. Just grabbing a little chunk and pulling it off. And then we'll set this aside and do the same thing for this piece. And the same way for the greens. Okay, so now we're going to do a second time on the carder. And this time I'm going to start with our kind of blended between this copper color and the green. I'm going to start with that. And I'm just going to take my strips here and just send them through. Usually the second blend is a little bit faster. So the more times you send the wool through the carder, if you have different colors, the more blended the colors will be if you keep them blended, and the more smooth the wool will be. So the smoother spin you'll have as well. Many of my bats, I generally do 2 blends on the carder, and that makes them very smooth. unless I'm doing a bat with like locks in it or I want texture. Alright, so I sent through the colors that were more blended together, and now I'm going to use more of the bronze color layer. And then we'll do some of our green. First, let me Howard Carter ones. Alright, so I'm going back to the copper color. Trying to pack in the ends a little bit. Alright. We have a little bit of green left to go. right, when I'm packing in this last little bit, sometimes I have to pack it in while I'm turning the drum to make it all fit. All right. So that's all the fiber for our second blend. So let's pull it off. Okay, almost. I'm gonna roll it off. There we go. All right, so let's look at our finished result. A little bit, what is that? It doesn't belong. Every once in a while I'll get a little bit of fiber from a previous blend on here. But that is, here, I'll move this so we can see it a little bit better. And then we can go back over to the table for my final, what I do at the end. Hopefully you can see all the colors. But this bat is very blended, very smooth. It'll make a very smooth spin for the most part. It's, I would say it's probably medium to fine wool bat, more medium wool, super warm fibers. So let's take this over to my little workstation where we started, and then we will, I'll show you how I tag it and everything. So this is the full size bat, as you can see most of it. This is the bottom, this is the top. So how I fold it up and roll it up, so I take the two ends, so these are the ends that would have met on the drum. So those get folded into the middle. And then go from the end and roll it up. Just like that. And that's how it will go in the bag. So, I'm going to turn my scale back on here, and we're going to weigh it. So this bat is 3.7 ounces. So 3.7 ounces. I'm going to write that here. And then we need to do the blend. So names, I only see one so far, Mother Earth. I already have a bat called Mother Earth. Can't use that one. So I have my little notes here about my fiber blend. So it was a total 3.7 ounces. So now I need to go back and take my largest one first. So I had 1.67 of Romney. So I'm going to divide that into 3.7. which is 0.45, so that's 45%. So this bat is 45% Romney. And then, let's see, 0.9 was the next largest amount. So into 3.7, that's about 25%. And that is Dorset Romney blend. And that is homegrown. And then we had 0.66 into 3.7. So that is about 20. So 45 and 25 would be 70. And then 20%, we'll do 20% on Shetland. And so that will leave us with a 10% Merino. All right. Oh, so apparently we like Luck of the Irish. So then it shall be. Luck of the Irish. So that is what I put mostly on my tag. And then I'll have to figure out the price on it. And I price my bats accordingly to each different fiber content and how much I paid for it and whatnot. So I kind of have for each different kind of fiber, depending if I bought like an indie dyed braid or if it's homegrown. Some of my local stuff that I buy, it's kind of all differently priced. So I will price it and then put my bat in a bat bag, which I don't have over here, and put the tag on the bag. So there's our Pal of the Month inspired bat. This photo really, my printer color must be a little off here. But that's what we have. You can see all the different colors, super blended bat. So thank you for joining me today. Let's bring us up maybe. But thanks for joining me today, and we will see you next time. Thanks.